Hey guys, today we're going to make a steel plate stand. Let's look at the tools we're going to need. We are going to need a welder. It's not something everybody has. If you don't have one, there's other ways to make target stands. I do have one, so that's what I'm going to use. It makes it a little easier. Obviously a shield, and then we got an angle grinder. I'm going to use the angle grinder to cut the metal. If you got a better way to cut metal, I'd go that way because the angle grinder is kind of a pain. I do have a cutting wheel on top, and I got a aggressive pad to clean up the metal to get good contact for the weld. These are the bolts I'm going to use. This bolt's going to go through the top. It's 6 inches long, 1/2 inch diameter, and a 1/2 inch bolt. And then I got a spring, and the spring actually pulls itself in. It keeps the steel basically sitting flat. It gives it a louder ring, and when you hit the steel, it's got a little flex, but it just comes back. I got a few washers. I'm not sure if I'm going to need all this. I just grabbed a few extras. Here's a smaller bolt. This is 1/2 inch too. It's 3 inches long. I got some extra washers. I don't know if I'm going to need all those neither with a matching bolt. I'm going to put this on the bottom half, and we're actually going to screw this in to tighten 2x4 up to hold the rack together. This one's going to be the top. It's going to go through the main housing, and it's going to slide over the top of the 2x4 and give it its ring. Some basic tools or some safety equipment. Obviously we need some gloves. I got a wrench. This is just to change the angle grinder blades or pads or whatever the hell you want to call them. Basic tape measure, pencil, and this is a tubing I'm going to use. This is a 2x4 tubing. You can use basically any size you want. Just you need to have the ability to get a piece of wood that's going to slide into here, and then I'm going to drill a hole through, and then I'll be able to screw this down and push the 2x4 that I have slid into here and hold it secure. And then this here is an old piece of a bed frame. I have it laying around. A lot of this stuff is just junk. You don't necessarily need to use angled steel. You can use square steel or tubing or whatever you have available. This here is 1x3. Similar to the other one over here. This is just a little bigger. This is 1x3. I'm going to use that. You don't need to have this, but if you want to add cardboard targets, you can put 1x3 boards on each side of it, and then be able to place paper targets. And then over here I got square tubing. This is going to be my centerpiece. So what I'm going to do is cut the angle iron in half. I'm going to put this in the middle, and then I'm going to tack weld it to both sides. And then we'll begin making our base. So there may be a few other little things I need. I just took all this and just threw it out here. And let's get started. Alright, this is the 2 inch by 3 inch. I'm going to use this for the 2x4s. I've done this a couple times. What seems to work good for me is 5 inches. So I'm going to make my 5 inch mark here. 5 inch here. This doesn't have to be perfect. And I need one for below to mount to the base, and then I want to use one for up above to attach my plate. So I'm going to do another 5 inch at the top. You may need a drill too. Then we'll just draw this straight around. Do the same thing. 5 inch on this side. 5 inch. 10. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you want it to be perfect, you can take the time. Next thing we're going to do is begin the cut. If you have some sort of bench saw or something that even a Sawzall would work good on this. I don't have one, so what I'm going to use is an angle grinder with a cutting wheel. It's kind of it's not as good of a finish, and it's kind of a pain right in the rear end. So if you got any other way to cut the metal, it's a better way than this, I promise you. These are our two ends here. We got one for the bottom, one for the top. This is going to mount to the base. This will be for the stand, or for the target. This is our piece of angle iron we're going to use. I'm just going to take a measurement and see if I can split this down the middle. I want this one a little bigger than the ones I typically make, just because I want I got some heavier steel I want to put on top. So it's looking like it's almost 6.5 feet. So I'm just going to split that down the middle. I'm going to go 3.2. I'm just going to split this down the middle instead of making a bunch of cuts. If it's a little longer, I don't think it's going to be much of a big deal. So now we're just going to cut this up. That's why it's important to wear glasses. You can see that spraying up in my face. So safety first. So here's our two lengths. Not exactly perfect, but they'll do. These are going to be our feet, or our legs. And then we'll put a center bracket across the middle, and we'll start welding this up. What I'm going to do is switch the cutting wheel over to the grinding wheel, and I'm going to clean up some of this metal surface so we have something good to weld against. In order for your weld to stick, you need clean metal. If it's all rusty and crap like this, it won't stick and it'll just fall apart. So, most important thing, similar to painting, is prep work. Make sure you got good contact surface and your welds will hold. I'm no professional welder by any means. Actually, I'm pretty bad at it, but I know that's just common sense. So, this here is going to be our center section. So the two legs are going to go a long ways like this. Going to go across the middle like so, and we're just going to weld this together. That'll be our frame. I cleaned up this side here to get good contact. I got to clean up the edges of my of the centerpiece so they have good contact too. The cleaner you get the surface, the better it's going to hold. So it takes time to, it makes a lot of sense to put a little time into the prep work, and this will last forever. So, so basically we're all set. Now all we got to do is weld this together. We got our two ends. We got clean contact surfaces, and let's start welding them. Okay, we got our welder warming up here. Let me take these earplugs out. We got the welder warming up. What we're going to do is just start tacking this together. These here are 38 inches long. I want more contact with the ground in the rear than I do in the front, just because when you hit the steel plate, the target's going to go backwards and you don't want it to tip over. Very rarely will it ever go forwards. You're not going to see that. So I want more stability in the rear than the front. So I'm just going to center this. They're 38 inches long. I'm going to put 16 inches right in the center. Alright guys, I switched out my, got my shield on, a heavy duty glove. I'm we're going to tack weld this. Alright, we got a good bead there. You got to clean up the edges of this metal too to get good contact with the ground. I probably should have done a little more sanding, but it'll do. Let me flip this around, we'll do the other side. Alright guys, we measured that side over there. The total length of the steel for the leg was 38 inches. We put 16 inches to the center in the front, and we left it long in the rear to take up some of that recoil from the target wanting to go backwards. So we're going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to measure center to 16, and we'll put a weld on this side. Alright, right there, center, 16 inches. Let's flip it over, we'll hit the bottoms of these just to get a good base. I don't want it to fall apart. We'll hit the bottom half of this. Alright guys, one more thing we're going to need that I forgot to mention is a drill and a drill bit. This is a 1/2 inch drill bit. These are our two end pieces of our 2x4 tubing. This is going to go on the top for the stand, or on the steel, so we can take this with us. We can take it off the top. It's basically like a rack or a holder. And then we got one that's going to be on the bottom. We're going to mount this to the base itself, and then we're going to put a bolt through it, and we're going to weld the nut to this. And then we have the ability to screw the nut in, which is going to put pressure on the 2x4 to tighten up the stand itself. So alright, there's our bolt hole all the way through. We just got to make sure that this bolt fits all the way through. Alright guys, this is what it looks like. Basically just got this cylinder tubing, and you're gonna have to clean this up with a brush or with your Dremel or whatever you want to use, even an angle grinder with a wheel, but clean up these edges. They're sharp. I just want to do this fast for the video. So we got our 1/2 inch bolt through here with a spring, and what I'm going to do is when I'm ready to mount my plate, I'm going to unscrew the bolt and put the plate in between the spring and the bolt face on the outside, and I'll have to add another washer to keep the spring back. And what that's going to do is give my target a little bounce, and it actually makes the ring louder on the target itself. So we're going to drill a hole through the second one here. We're going to drill a hole through this one. This one's going to go on our base. And this one here you want kind of high again too. Alright, there's our second hole. This we're going to actually take and tack weld a bolt to this hole. That way the bolt stays with this piece of metal, which we're going to mount to the base, and then we can screw our bolt in and out, and it's going to secure that 2x4. What I found to help out with that is just to take a washer, and I can tack weld the washer to the steel, and then I can tack weld the bolt to the washer, and it gives me a little more clearance from getting weld into the whole diameter. This is what it's going to look like. Here's our base. We're going to mount this to the bracket, and the base is obviously going to stay with this frame. So we want to center this up. The bolt is going to be used when we put our 2x4 on the top. We can tighten that down. So we're going to have to clean up this contact surface so we can get a decent weld on this. So let's do that now. Tack weld this up. Right there looks pretty good to me. So what we need to do now, we put welds on the sides of the base of the main stand part. Now we're just going to flip it over. And we're going to put a weld down here on the bottom half. If you do want to add, you can add metal on the sides. It's 1 inch by 3 inch tubing if you want to run like target stands and have the ability to run a cardboard or put paper targets up. The other stands I have, like this one here, they do have those. I welded the 1 by 3 inch metal tubing on the sides of that. That way I have the option. If I want to pull that 2x4 out, I can run paper targets on that. But this weekend what we're going to do is just shoot steel, so I'm not going to make a super long video. This is just a basic frame with the hardware to mount the 2x4. Over here is my 2x4 I had kicking around the house. And the 2x4 just basically slides in like that. And then this nut here has this nut allows me to tighten this up, and it actually cinches this 2x4 down, and that'll keep the 2x4 from wobbling. I'm on uneven ground, that's why you're getting a little wobble here. So let's take a look at the this is the bracket we made for our stand for the top of the target. We're going to leave the target on this piece, and we can basically just slide this up over the top, and it just sits on there. The bolt is going to keep it from sliding through. So I'm going to mount the steel plate up to here. I got a couple large targets like these, but I got them out back, so I'm just gonna set a little round target up to this just so you guys can see what it does. And I do have a spring on here. It'll make the ring a little louder, and it gives the plate like flex back, so it doesn't just jiggle, it'll come back. So let's do that now. These bolts here have a large end, so they're not gonna slide through. So I leave that on the outside, and that way if a bullet hits the bolt, it's just going to ricochet to the sides. It's not going to damage the nut face itself. Then goes your spring. Then I use a washer. Then we can just add this through here. Another washer in the back. And then your nut. You can use this with any plate, any steel you wanna. You just gotta drill a hole in it. So, and what it does is it basically, the spring makes it spring back. So let's take this and stick this up here. Now we can just sit this on top of here whenever we want. So that's basically how it goes. For 15-20 minutes in the right tools, you can throw it together quite easy. If you're not the handyman type of person, you can always buy these. I'm sure most of the steel or the target manufacturers sell these. I just like to try to do things myself.